Warm greetings from the High 10. It's Everyday Shenanigans, and thanks for joining me. It is Tuesday, January 14th, 2020. I want to bring you a story that's deriving out of the Atlanta metro area. There was a crime that took place back in 2017 of a gentleman who was murdered on his front doorstep. And I found the video pertaining to this storyline on YouTube yesterday on Crime Watch Daily. So if you're a fan of their show, please log on to YouTube and you will find the said information and storyline in a video on YouTube. This story I'm bringing to you is brought to you by AJC.com, the Atlanta Journal Constitution. And it reads as follows. Gwinnett woman lover convicted of killing husband on his doorstep. Tia Young and Harvey Timothy Lee have been convicted of killing George Young, Tia's husband. George Young was shot in the face and chest on his porch in Beaufort on the evening of November 16th, 2017. His keys were still in the front door as he died on the steps. Tia Young, 43, was convicted of felony murder, aggravated assault, and criminal attempt to tamper with evidence. She was found not guilty on one charge of malice murder. Lee, 39, was convicted of malice murder, felony murder, and aggravated assault. In Georgia, felony murder indicates someone is believed to be responsible for another person's death in the commission of another felony, such as aggravated assault. Malice murder indicates that someone is believed to have killed someone intentionally and without provocation. The jury began deliberation, on that Friday at 8:15 a.m. and returned its verdict after 7 p.m. The trial took 2 weeks from the beginning of jury selection to that Friday night's verdict. Prosecutors argued that Tia Young and Lee conspired to kill George Young to collect his $1 million life insurance policy and have Lee take over George Young's security company, which subcontracted for Ackerman Security. Both defendants' attorneys said the state's case was thin and that Lee and Tia Young having a romantic relationship did not make them killers. Lee's attorney also pointed out that Lee did not have the proper certification, to run George Young's company. Lee had been living with the Young family for about 2 years at the time of George Young's death. Lee had fallen on hard times and was living in hotels when George Young gave him a job and invited him to stay in the Young's rent-free, though Lee started paying $500 a month in rent once he was financially able. It is unclear when Lee's romantic relationship with Tia Young began. Before police discovered the affair, both Tia Young and Lee said they were like siblings, and Tia Young was listed as Big Sis in Lee's cell phone contacts. After George Young was shot, Tia Young refused to go outside, telling a 911 operator she was too squeamish and didn't want to see her husband like that, according to a recording of this call. Lee told the 911 operator he was performing CPR on George Young, but Dr. James Downs, an associate medical examiner for Gwinnett County, didn't see anything indicating CPR had been performed in an autopsy. After the 2 shots were fired, a neighbor saw a man, which prosecutors argued was Lee, go under George Young's car and run back inside. Lee placed a GPS tracker on George Young's car in the weeks before the killing. Lee told police George Young wanted it for safety reasons, but text messages showed that when an app notified George Young of the tracker's placement on his car, Lee told him that the tracker was actually trying to record Lee's movements and it was a mistake, Gwinnett County Corporal David Smith said. Police found evidence that Lee had searched for snake venom and highly poisonous black widow spiders in the weeks before George Young was shot, Smith said. On Tia Young's phone, investigators found multiple humorous and sexual memes and cartoons about affairs, Smith said. One cartoon featured a fortune teller telling a woman, "Your husband will meet a violent end." The woman replies, "Will I get convicted?" This was Gwinnett County Superior Court Judge Tracy Mason's first murder trial. Mason was elected in July of 2018, replacing retired Judge Tom Davis. Sentencing for both defendants was held on April 11th. Both plan to ask for a new trial, their attorney said. There are only two sentencing options for the murder convictions: life in prison with the possibility of parole, or life in prison without the possibility of parole. The district attorney's office did not seek the death penalty in this case. So, naturally, the two were found guilty, and Miss Tia will not be able to get parole until she's at least 73 years of age. And the gentleman was found guilty, and he is serving a life sentence with no parole. And I was thinking about that. My goodness, I'll be at least 78 years old when this lady, if I'm alive, that she will actually get parole. Uh, if she gets parole, she'll be 73. So I want to bring you the said information, bring you my commentary on this story. When I saw this on YouTube yesterday, I was like baffled and just like, why in the world would anyone, man or woman, want to kill their spouse, hire someone to do it? Because you see, there are 50 ways to kill a person and 100 ways to get caught. And many people haven't figured that out. And every day people go out here and conspire to kill their spouses, and yet they get caught. It might not be the next day, maybe 6 months, might be a year, it might be 5 years, but eventually they get caught. I don't know if I want to say some or most, but some get caught. And you have to ask yourself, what was so terrible that would lead this woman to get help from this gentleman who was also living in their home to help her kill her husband? And why do it? What was so terrible in her marriage that she would conspire to kill her husband and involve this gentleman who was supposed to be a friend of theirs from their hometown? And I want you all to go to the Crime Watch Daily episode pertaining to this story, because in that episode, the sister talks in this said interview, and she gives her commentary of what happened when she came to town after she called, and the gentleman had answered the phone, and she was asking him about who he was, and she came into town, and the things that she noticed when she got there, she felt like these people were not in mourning, the wife and the family. Naturally, he had 3 sons, this gentleman living there, the wife and her mother living there, so they had a full house. And this gentleman was deemed a very deemed a hardworking man. He worked for local celebrities. He was a bodyguard for a rapper there. So he was doing well for himself. And I also believe he was installing security alarms for said company. So he was doing well for himself. And then one day he goes home to be gunned down at his front door. Key was still in the lock when he was murdered. And this sister gives a telling story on this Crime Watch Daily episode of the things she noticed in the house when she got there, such as the wife going in and out of that guy's room, soft music playing and candles lit, saying she had to charge her phone in his room. Now, naturally, in a nice size home, because they lived in a very nice, comfortable neighborhood in Beaufort, Georgia. Why are you using that room to charge your phone when you have a room with your husband? You have other rooms in your home. So this lady, the sister, she was noticing these things, the victim's sister. And she thought it was suspicious, her behavior. No one seemed like they were mourning, no crying, no nothing. So she became suspicious, and naturally, she had a conversation with the said detective working on the case. And then, too, the detectives became suspicious of the wife's demeanor and changing of stories, hers and the other guy's statements became conflicted. It was said that there was marital trouble in the couple's marriage. So you wonder, why didn't she leave him? Why didn't he leave her? Or was it in the stages of one leaving the other one? Was he trying to leave? Was he making provisions? Had they talked about it? Had he discussed it with her? And this led to her conspiring to kill her husband with this renter friend they had living in their apartment. In their home, sorry. Did trouble arise with this guy when he came to their house? Was he the problem? Was he the culprit of the marital woes? Did he come between this couple? Did the husband know the signs when he came? Or were they having trouble before this guy moved in their house? If he was the culprit of the marital woes, why didn't the victim put him out of their house? If this is true, because we really don't know what actually transpired, but as I stated, this was mentioned in the video in the Crime Watch Daily episode, is that there were marital problems. So I wonder if this gentleman was the cause of it, or he escalated, exacerbated what was already wrong in the marriage. How do you approach someone about killing your spouse? How do you just wake up one day and say, hey, how you doing? I need you to kill my husband. Okay? There was a $1 million life insurance policy. Obviously, the wife knew of that. So did she just wake up one day and say, hey, he has this policy. I'm sick of him. I don't want to be bothered. I've fallen in love with this guy right here. Or was she planning this before the guy came along? You don't know. You have no idea. And why did he agree to go along with killing the husband? Allegedly, he was a friend from their hometown back in South Carolina. Why would he agree to this? They all knew of each other, grew up or something, grew up with one another. How could you come from a town that you knew of someone, go live in their home, have an affair with the man's wife, and then go along with the wife conspiring to kill the same person who invited you into their home to live? You know, you got to be a cold SOB to, one, go live in someone's house and sleep with their wife, and then to also conspire to kill the man and kill the man in cold blood, and then play crazy like you didn't do it. You don't know anything about it. What did the mother know who was staying in the house? What did she see? What did she hear? Did the daughter confide in her? Did she want her husband gone? Did she play crazy that night as well? Deaf and dumb? What was her role? Because I have a feeling the children that were left behind are living with this said mother. Because during that Crime Watch Daily, it was said that they were not living with the sister, so they were living with the mother. So what did the mother know? Was she complicit? Did she have knowledge of this said crime? Did she know this was going to take place? I wonder, what did she know? Considering the fact that when the sister said she visited once her brother had, was murdered, if she was hearing soft music and candles lit in the room, and the wife was going in and out of that said room or that gentleman's room, the mother had to have known as well that she was going in and out of that man's room. She had to have known that they were sleeping with each other and having sexual relations, touchy-feely, giving each other the eye. How could she not? This lady's a visitor. She's only there for 2 days? And if she could see these signs, how could her own mother not see the signs? How could her children not see the signs? Outsiders who came to visit, people who call the home. You understand what I'm saying? Too many people living in one house. And not to be funny and contrite, but hey, sometimes it doesn't work out having too many people living in a home. And as you see, they invited the demon in, and the demon helped kill that man. So sometimes it's not a good idea to have people living in your home. I was going to use the word strangers, but that's probably the appropriate word, because indeed this man was a stranger, because he murdered this man. The state had proof, or they brought what evidence they had to say he killed this victim. And they knew of each other from where they lived. And he killed this man at his own doorstep. And obviously, because he got involved with the wife, and we know the wife had to say something to him to get him involved in killing this man. This Crime Watch Daily episode is very telling. I want you all to go to Crime Watch Daily and watch the episode pertaining to this story. And it's a sad tale. It's a very sad tale. And when you watch the episode, you will see what the sister is talking about, why she had feelings that the sister, that the wife was involved because she didn't show any signs of mourning. And as she stated in this interview, she knows that people grieve differently. And boy, do we know about that on this channel, that people grieve differently. But that was her opinion. that she felt like they didn't show any tears. There was no crying on her part or the mother's part. And she felt like as if her brother had went away on vacation. That's how they were acting. That it wasn't as if the man had died and was brutally murdered at his own front step, but that he was away on vacation. And that's how she took it. And yes, people do grieve differently. We have seen that time and time again. But you see, we are outsiders looking in, but sometimes what we are seeing is exactly that. That something is amiss, something is foul. And I think it is sad that this lady had been married to this man, nice looking gentleman, 22 years. I don't know what was going on in their marriage, who was doing what to whom, who wasn't doing what, but it should have never came down to this lady hiring their visitor, their tenant in their home to kill her husband. If she was unhappy, she should have filed for divorce, moved out, or he moved out, and move on with her life. But you see, once again, you don't know people. That you sit here and sleep with somebody every day, build a life with them, have children with them, and all this time you're out there working, they are conspiring to get you dead. And I don't know what type of man he was, but nice things were said about him, that he was a hard worker. He worked at least 12-hour days trying to build his security company. He was well known in the Atlanta area, working for famous people, celebrities. So he was trying to build a life for himself, his wife, and his children. They had a nice looking home, nice neighborhood, but in the end, his life was not worthy because the wife wanted to get rid of him. Well, naturally, she did not get that money from the insurance company because once she became a suspect, they did not render payment. Naturally, that money will go to the children. And that's a good thing. And I pray they get all of the said money. You don't know people. Every day we walk by people and we talk about people, brag about people. We call them our friends, our family, our husband, our wives. But little do you know, they're seething underneath. And they have contempt for you. They don't like you. And some indeed, will sickly sit by and conspire to get you dead. And you have no idea. I tell anybody, if you even see some crazy signs in your marriage or relationship where they're acting peculiar, odd, other people getting involved, coming in the throes, you might want to put your thinking cap on and be very leery, because this is a terrible way for a person to leave here, is on their own front step and by their own wife and by someone they allowed to come stay in their house who they were trying to help and got that said man a job. This is a very terrible story. Keep your eyes open. As I always say on this channel, stay woke. Please like and share. This is Everyday Shenanigans, and I thank you for joining me. I'll be back with another video. Bye-bye.